Hey guys, welcome to Mad Acre Farms. I'm Ryan.
I'm Jamie.
And this is our farm cooperative. Now, one thing we try to do is go live one Thursday out of the month. And we want to be advocating as well as a learning tool for small sustainable farms and homesteads. And how we do that is by bringing knowledgeable people in front of you to provide you with useful information to make you successful.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We are so excited for our guest today to talk a little bit about community-supported agriculture. And I actually want to share something with you, Ryan. I don't know if you remember this, but of course you remember this. But when I actually reached out to these folks, you had been following them for quite some time. And then Ryan actually showed me a video, and normally, I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, they're doing exactly what we want to do. And from that moment on, I have became a fan. And I actually, a while back, I had what we call an Oprah moment. And so
hold on, time out. Is this the Oprah moment when you went crowd surfing?
I did.
You probably should tell the story if you're going to say Oprah moment.
Okay, so real quick, because we want to be mindful of everybody's time here. So real quick, we happen to be in the same vicinity as Miss Winfrey herself, okay? And I did what any normal human being would do. And
not at all.
Yes, I did. I did. And what I actually did was I saw Oprah, and I was within high five distance.
No, she wasn't.
Yes, I was in high five distance.
You wasn't. There was five people deep in front of you.
I felt like I was. And so I went and I was racing to go see Miss Winfrey. And her security stiff-armed me. And all I was doing was going in for a high five.
No. What happened was Jamie jumped on a crowd of people. Imagine a 4-foot tall woman leaping over a crowd of people. And as the crowd moved, trying to chase Oprah, this is Jamie on top of the crowd.
It's not true.
Yes, it is. And she crowd surfed the whole crowd for about 10 minutes. I was standing there maintaining my professional composure, and I was embarrassed. I had to walk away. It was a walk away moment. It's like when you walk out real fast because you don't want to be associated with the person that's about to go to jail.
Let's just listen. The point that I was proving is that when these folks, I reached out to them and they responded, it was like, I saw it on my phone and I jumped up and I said, Ryan, you will never believe this. And he was like, Jamie, what happened? He woke up out of his slumber, right? And I'm like,
slumber, that's a big word.
Tapanoth said they will come to our live. And he's like, Jamie, my heart is racing. I thought something was wrong. I'm like, Ryan, you do not understand. Tapanoth is coming to our live. And that is who we have, in fact, today, you guys. That was my Oprah moment. That's my virtual moment. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to bring these folks up on our live because they are doing some amazing things on their property. They are such an inspiration to us. Mm-hmm. And we want to have this live around community-supported agriculture because we are so passionate about learning about community-supported agriculture. And these folks not only know about community-supported agriculture, they're doing so many amazing things on their property. I cannot wait for them to share it. So I would like to bring up James and Rosa from Tapanoth to join the live here. And we would ask our chat if you could cater your questions, but make specific questions towards the topic at hand today so we can make sure that James and Rosa can, get to your questions when we bring them up for them. And so we will plan on having questions come up about 10 to 15 minutes left of the live. So we'll make sure we try to get as many of your questions answered from Tapanoth. So
yeah, and before we do apologize because this is such an important topic to us that we're not going to be focusing on the general conversation we usually have with the live, with the chat, I should say. We're going to be focusing mainly on our guests and as well as the topic at hand. But if you guys have some stuff that you want to sidebar, shoot us an email, or we'll jump back in the chat later on and we can respond to those things at that point. But we do appreciate you guys being here, and we love each and every last one of you guys.
Yes, thank you all so much. And without further ado, let's welcome James and Rosa from Tapanoth.
Hey guys.
Yeah, Alex, how are we doing?
Okay. Love your open story.
Yeah, such a good story. I was laughing.
Now, I know Jamie just gave her Fanfield moment. Before we get into it, I just want to tell you guys, I am so amazed with your property and what you're doing on your property. When I decided I wanted to get into farming, this is 20-some years ago when I was a young lad. But, you know, I'm an old man now. I didn't envision what my farm would be like, but once I got to learning, I said, well, I knew I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there. And watching you guys' channel and seeing the things that you guys are doing in your farm, like, that is exactly what I wanted to do. And what's nice about your channel, a lot of people might not know, you guys show the mistakes as well. You don't just show, you know, the picturesque farm. Even though you got an amazing picturesque farm, you don't just show that. You show the steps in between on how to get there, and I appreciate that. I want to say it was a couple videos ago, you pointed out the fact you put the poplar trees by your house, and that was a bad idea, and you want to put fruit trees there, and you have to dig all those trees up. That's something that somebody might not think of. So it's pretty cool to see that you guys show the setbacks in as well as the progression in what you're doing on your farm.
Is this your Oprah moment?
I want to say it's
Oprah moment. We need to let these folks talk.
It's a farm crush.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you for that. I do.
We are team staff all the way. So please share with us what you're doing.
Thank you so much for all the kind words.
Yeah, it's really nice. It feels really supportive. So we appreciate it.
We couldn't really imagine that we would be getting nice feedback like that. Really, after starting the channel, and it's been an interesting journey, definitely. But and it is, you're right. I think it's important to put in your mistakes, and that's what people learn from is watching and hearing what other people have maybe done. And we always try and say that they're definitely not how-to videos at all. They're kind of how we do, because it's just one day a week of our life that we choose to take the camera out with us, and that's the way we do it. And hopefully, if people can learn something from kind of just going along with us, like when we have volunteers on the farm.
Yes.
Who watched our vlogs, they like said, it's a little bit like being a volunteer, you know, like a woofer or a workaway or something like that, because they're kind of coming along with us and just kind of within earshot as we're just rabbiting away doing our thing.
Now, how long have you guys been doing?
Let's back up, because these folks are farming on 8 acres of land in Scotland.
Yes.
Yes. Tell a little bit about the makeup of your farm real quick, so everybody can kind of set that background, that backdrop.
Oh, that's what I'm getting to.
I'm just saying, let them talk.
Do that one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're in the northeast of Scotland, so pretty high north. We're about 57 degrees north, and 8 acres, about 3 hectares. It's all south-facing land. It's all sloping. We don't really have one flat field at all. So whenever we see market gardens that have got these nice flat fields, we get pretty envious. So we're always pushing wheelbarrows uphill and trying to get heavy loads up. Yeah, it keeps you fit. It's pretty cold. We don't get winters like I think you guys get winters. We get snow from anywhere between October and May, and that's kind of so quite a short growing season. But it's a real mix of land. We've got fields, we've got a lot of tree cover, there's some high water table, we've got ponds, and then we've got livestock as well, but really just for the home, with the dairy goats for our own dairy needs. That's not a commercial side of things. The market garden, the vegetable boxes, that's been the main commercial enterprise so far.
Okay. So you start your market garden. So when did you actually get into the CSA, when you start the farm itself? That
was 2000. We moved. I moved to the farm. We didn't move here together. We met here. I came here in 2012, And then it was 2016 that the market garden began. Yeah, the veg box business began.
Awesome.
Okay. And then did you start the CSA right away?
Community supported agriculture. Yeah. So like, yeah. First, why don't you guys, your version of how would you define a community supported agriculture? How would you define that?
What do you reckon?
I think the difference between community supported agriculture and just kind of plain agriculture, as it were, is just obviously the community involvement, looking to your community to give you that stability that often isn't there when you are just selling veg off the cuff, as it were, in markets, or if you were to have a veg box where people could dip in and out. And I think it means that you can do your job as a grower and not worry about the kind of selling aspect so much once you've got your members. So that's the support that comes from the community supported. So yeah, that's how I define it. And
it's our business structure.
Yeah, it's the structure of the business. It's basically where your members, as we call them instead of customers, share. We always kind of say the phrase, you share in the risks and rewards of seasonal farming. So it's just, the whole idea is that there's a lot more connection with your community than you would otherwise have if you were just selling in the kind of usual way. And so it means that aside from the support that we get, and we ask for kind of payment up front, and there are different kind of parts of the business structure, but what it essentially means is you've just got that closer connection with your community. And so they enjoy the side of it that's like the story and the connection with the farm, feeling really like part of the farm. We sometimes say our farm is your garden, it's like a kind of place where people can have a garden without managing their own garden, as it were. And that's part of it, of course, is also sharing in if we have like a glut of a certain vegetable, they get a portion of that. So there's not like a kind of set amount. It's always just a share of the harvest. So we really like that because it's a lot more kind of natural, really, to if you were growing your own food, that's how you would work. You'd have a lot of something at some point in the year, and then you try and find ways to use that. So it's more creative and kind of.
I think here in the UK, we certainly talk about community-led CSAs and producer-led CSAs. So we're a producer-led. So, rather than being, if we were part of a community, if Rosa and I had been hired by a community to be their growers, then there'd certainly be a lot more discussion about variety of vegetables to grow for how many people and what jobs are allocated to which people. Whereas we're control freaks, so we just want to do all of that ourselves. So we're producer-led, so we're making all those decisions about variety, quantity, sales, wherever it's going.
To kind of work in that way.
But it certainly works for the community side. So community-supported agriculture, organized by a community body.
Yeah. And that probably take out a lot of stress, not only for you guys, but for the customers as well. Being that we are new farmers, just getting into the game last year, and we just started the market garden, not quite got it dialed in like we wanted, but we're doing our best, and we just started our CSA program this year. We're launching the CSA program. Do you think that's rational to do that? And I guess I'm trying to figure out, how long were you guys farming and perfecting your ideas before you started actually doing the CSA? And did you have the buy-in of your community before you start the CSA program?
Yeah, good question. Well, so no, I mean, our first season was 2016, and it was 2017 that we started using the terminology around CSA. But personally, I'd been growing vegetables for 15 years or more, so I had that confidence, I guess, in knowing that I could probably grow at a small scale commercial level. Rosa had been growing down in London in an urban situation with urban gardens down in London.
And that was more like selling.
Into restaurants and things. So when we started in the first season, no, we didn't use the term CSA, I don't think, in 2016, but by 17, after
I think you'd mentioned it in 2016.
We'd probably talked about
introduced it like kind of slowly,
because the Tapanoff Farm as a business, I guess, or as a project, like I said, began in 2012, and we started a Facebook page and eventually Instagram and everything in the early days. And because the early focus was on permaculture demonstration and running courses. So we built up quite a good following on Facebook. So by the time we came to advertising about this, maybe an idea of selling veg, we already had that quite good following, although it was mostly international as well. And suddenly from going from an international kind of outreach to suddenly doing a 15-mile radius, which is what we cover from our home is 15 miles. So it's like 20-minute drive only or something. So that was quite different. But yeah, we already had that kind of following. And then I posed the question to the followers of the Tapanoff Farm Facebook page, do you think you guys would be interested in vegetables, ecologically grown? We're not organic certified, so we're in the UK again, we're not legally allowed to call it organic vegetables unless it's certified by the Soil Association, so we have to call it ecologically grown. And there was a big response of people saying, yes, we'd love that. Can we have it delivered? Because again, we're in quite a fractured community, we're really rural. There's, you know, we're a mile from our nearest village, which has got about 300 people in it. You have to drive everywhere to get anywhere. So people wanted deliveries. So we did a year of delivering door to door. We had 18 customers in the first season, and that took 2.5 hours just going door to door. And we had people dropping in and dropping out because that was the way I structured it. You paid for what you got. I invoiced every 4 weeks or so. If you wanted to drop out, you dropped out. And that's just not great if you're wanting to run a small business, which is a delicate thing anyway. So within that second season, coming back after the first, we thought, right, we've got to do something different here. We need more security for ourselves as producers. And that's when...
So I just want to pause. I want to pause, not to cut you off, James.
No, sorry, go for it.
I want to make sure they understand that people, what he's saying is, get your money up front. You sell the product pretty much, don't give them the option to back out. I mean, of course, you want to have mutual happy customer and happy producer, but at the end of the day,
I think that's where you got the buy-in.
Yeah,
you know, like you guys got the buy-in, so it was already there at some point. It just maybe just the way you structured it. That you maybe looking back, would you have done that differently then?
Well, he said he changed it up. He changed it up the following year because
the following year, because first year we had 18 customers, the second year we had 30. And we offered like a regular pay for what you want kind of box, and then we offered a CSA box. We started calling people members. So that would
only the CSA people.
Really.
So it was quite complicated. It's almost quite complicated that, because it was like kind of, you had the invoicing every week for the kind of regular members, regular customers, and then you had your members, your CSA members who paid up front.
And that CSA box was cheaper. We made sure that it was 2 weeks cheaper, mostly because we said if you choose that CSA box when you sign up, that's you with us. If you want to go away on holiday or whatever, then you've got to give your box to your neighbor or whatever. We're not going to stop them. But we made it 2 weeks cheaper because that's the average summer holiday in the UK is 2 weeks. So people weren't really missing out if they couldn't pick up their box because of them going on holiday. But yeah, we called them members, and yeah, it did make it a bit confusing with the admin side of things. And I think then in our
things going on.
And then in the third year, that's when we went militant and just said, right, it's CSA or nothing kind of style.
And how was that accepted?
Fine. Yeah, I think it was. Obviously, we lost customers maybe that didn't suit, because it's not going to suit everyone. But in a way, that's...
You don't want them. Like, if they want to drop out every now and then you wouldn't have wanted them anyway, because they wouldn't have been able to support you as you needed with the way that the veg were coming out the garden.
We found that sourcing customers or members is probably one of the hardest things, certainly for our business. Again, I think with our location, because we're not anywhere near a city or even a large town, we had to source maybe 50% of our customer base every season. And so 50% have stuck with us. In fact, for 6 years, we've had the same customers. It's really great, you know. But usually when we start advertising our shares in maybe December, we usually have to source 50% right from the start again. But we've never had to pay for advert. Well, I think we paid for a few Facebook adverts, but usually word of mouth has been enough. So yeah, I think it's really worthwhile getting people used to it. And I think you kind of asked this in your question a minute ago, but like also building up, why should people trust you? Why should they give you their money at the start of the season when maybe you guys are new? And so I think that allowed us to kind of prove our worth and do that for a year where it was kind of half on, half off. Let people see that yes, we can deliver. We will deliver every week really beautiful vegetables, and then they might be more willing to then go, okay, we're going to pay up front now.
The other thing that helps is like people, because we were kind of dropping off to certain locations, people who don't have that box see the box as well. So aside from you posting as much online as possible, just showing what what you're growing and how good it looks, people who hadn't signed up that year would have seen that or been in the shop where people were picking it up and seen that veg box. And so slowly, aside from word of mouth, you just get like exposure around your local community, and that really helps because people are then,
I'm glad you guys said that because we're new to the area. One,
we are.
We're new to farming.
We are,
and so we're new to starting our CSA, and we're having a difficult. I don't want to say we're having a difficult, but we haven't had any buy-in when it comes to our CSA yet. We start our online presence. Of course, we got the YouTube, the Facebook. We're doing all those things. It just
we participated in one farmers market last year.
Yeah.
And is that where you're going, maybe with the farmers market?
Yeah, I was going to, because we sound like we have similar topography, where we're in the middle of nowhere, and our closest town is probably about the same amount of people that you got, about 300 people. And I guess we did one farmers market. How many farmers markets did you guys do when you started, or was there a such thing as farmers market? I'm not for certain the setup is the same.
Yeah, we haven't done any official farmers markets.
We've done pop-up kind of markets.
We've done like festivals.
Yeah, food festivals where there's been a market kind of thing going on, and that's been nice exposure. But we've never used a market as such to like reach the local community.
One of the regular farmers markets.
But that may be because we've got a slightly different like culture around that here. I don't know about you, but ours is only once a month, and also I think. The way that, to be honest, Facebook seems to be like the way that our local communities communicate. That was almost just sufficient as a way to reach everyone. However, I think if we had more of a kind of, like a weekly market or something like that, I would have, suggested that we went there to start with.
It's definitely something we've talked about, whether it's worth traveling to the bigger city. Aberdeen is our nearest city, which is about 37 miles away, so like an hour drive. And we've talked about whether that would be financially worth it, and we've often come back thinking I don't think we want to, because also we don't really want to do that journey. I think you guys probably travel a lot further in America and are okay with that, and I know in Australia as well,
we're like an hour off.
We're like that too here now.
He's like that.
15 is too far. I'm like, oh, you go yourself.
What I find absolutely amazing, and I think a lot of people in the chat need to know this, but can you tell them the size of your garden that you use for your market garden, and how many members? Because you initially said you started with 18, but just tell them a little bit about that, because I think it's very impressive.
Oh, thank you. It's we grow on, or have been growing, just under 1/4 of an acre of raised beds. So that's the garden is probably we've got one polytunnel and raised beds in different plots around the garden. We've got lots of fruit trees and windbreaks and things. So it takes up maybe half an acre, but the actual growing space is under 1/4 of an acre. And at the most we could do 50 shares a week from that size.
And when you say shares, how you did your shares by weight, right? By weight?
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of a bit of both. We'd work with weights of certain things, but then some things are in units, like a cabbage or whatever, but we would still record the kind of average weight of that, because at the end of a season, we have a kind of whiteboard in our packing shed, and that has what crops we're going to harvest, which is to kind of help us know what we're doing on the day, what's ready or what we want to harvest. And then we have the weight of that, and then the share portion out of that total weight. But often we do the weight, but say it's like a cabbage or it's broccoli heads or something like that. You're still picking, a certain number, and they're not all going to be the same weight because they're just varying. So whilst we take the weight for a kind of average, so we can calculate the average weight of, say, the cabbages, that's more for our kind of data analysis at the end of the season, where we actually use there's some really good data from the Soil Association that James mentioned to do with the organic certification in the UK, and they on their website, just open source, is just a horticultural produce price data, and you can go on there and look at the prices.
Current market value for a kilo of carrots or whatever.
It's really useful, and so we would use that at the end of the season, after kind of, because often we would just do it almost by eye. We've got our veg box, and it just should look bountiful,
A full box.
We would obviously every now and then check in on that, make sure it's similar to the value, but really mostly at the end of the season we would calculate how much people got over the whole season and compare that to the share price that they bought in the first place, and say how much extra veg, for example, they got, or less, but it's never been less.
No, it's always
really
been
nice.
Over. Everyone always gets more than they've paid for. But not disastrously so with regards to business sense, but I think it's, it was a tricky one trying to decide how much goes in a box. A vegetarian would sort of annihilate our box, our small box, because they would just eat it all. It's actually, I wish we could say we've been feeding 50 families, but we still know our customers still have to go to the supermarket and get stuff that we.
This is just a supplement.
And,
like onions. We don't. People use multiple onions every week. We just don't have enough space to grow
potatoes. There are certain
onions.
crops that we just don't bother growing, either because we know they're readily available in the community from another producer, or it's just not economically viable for us. The harvesting time for potatoes, especially when you're doing that by hand, is just probably not worth actually growing them. So let someone else grow them. But
we're often often asking the question, like, what is it that, as for ourselves, like, what are we saying? What would we like to be able to get really fresh and organic? And like at the end of the day, you can buy the potatoes, the onions quite easily, but to get fresh herbs, fresh salads and leafy greens, that's really nice for people. So
but we basically just looked at the box and also look at some of your competitors and who else is producing, and go, okay, well, that's what people in the area are used to. But we would often go by items, like how many varieties. So certainly no less than 5 every week. And the understanding with the CSA of supporting seasonal agriculture is this understanding that at the start of the season and the end of the season, your box is probably going to be a little bit more sparse than it is mid-season when it's very bountiful. But that should even out over time, and that like buying shares, and that works quite well. And again, you kind of asked like the question of how did people receive that, and again, you're advertising to, you should be trying to advertise to the right people, because not everyone's going to be into that. They're going to want vegetables out of season, and they're not going to really care about supporting the grower or meeting the grower or whatever. So you don't want
creative cooks, basically, people that are excited by having extra of something that they don't know. Or
we had 3 different box sizes over the years: a small, a medium, and a large, or a standard. It started with box size. I mean, that's the difficult thing, is that we still have, all throughout the years, have called it a veg box business, and the box is the most annoying part about it, because
people never bring them back.
Well, people never bring them back. That's a whole different thing to complain about. But it actually, it's like how fencing on your farm can really change your design. You get rid of the fence and everything opens up, and you have all these different ideas. But the previous owners have already put those boundaries in, and it completely changes the design. Well, the box is the same. I mean, there's putting it in a box is kind of stops the imagination. So the box is often an issue, and you do get a lot of CSA farms that have got rid of the box, and they just have some, like a table with the harvest bins, and you take your own weights. We never got to that.
We really wanted
but we considered it, because the box really is just a way of transporting the vegetables, because it's the share really that's important.
That's good. That's actually really great feedback, because we have some ideas, but I think we're gonna go back to the drawing board on that now. I feel like, because you guys, gosh, we need to go back to the drawing board. Like our wheels are turning here, and I'm like, oh, we need to back this truck up.
Now, if it costs us money, now we can't do that.
I'm just saying.
Hey, so you levied a lot of information there, and I want to just go back and dive in that a little bit farther. I had a couple questions that came. I know you touched based on it, on how you determine crops too, and how do you determine how much crops you need to grow to support the amount of members that you have. Those are two things that I haven't really equated or understand just yet. I mean, we want to be able to provide our customers, say for instance, our large members, 16 weeks of boxes. How do I equate that into how much produce I need to grow?
Can really quick, I just want to insert this in here, but like folks in the chat, I don't know if you heard, but like if you really, a quarter acre, 50 members. And I know some folks don't have that much space, but could you imagine this? I mean, you don't need that much space to really do a urban type garden setting and build a business from doing what you love. And I think it's absolutely outstanding, and it's amazing to hear just in those small space that you have and what you can produce. So people in the chat, take notice of that, because anything is possible.
Or those people that thinking they need acres, and they got acres of land that they're clearing right now, and they don't understand the ability how to manage that acre of land and what that acre of land can produce. So if you don't have the clientele and you're growing an acre of food, and what are you going to do with that food at the end of the year, or what's going to happen to that?
And that kind of cues back into your question.
So those are things you have to think about especially when farmers, you're starting a business on a budget, on a small. If you like us, you started on a real small budget.
Yeah, on a shoestring budget. Yeah.
So
no, I mean, if we can hold that question that you had about which was on the topic of. What was it again? It was on the topic of thinking about how to work out how much to grow to do your 16 weeks or whatever.
Yes.
But definitely, if I can just say before that, what you were talking about, like land size, etc. I think that for us, that's come down to different methods, like looking into bio-intensive gardening or farming, where we're trying to grow the largest possible crop on the smallest area of land without reducing the soil fertility, without being detrimental to the soil.
Adding lots of fertility.
So that was where we, and again, people like Jean-Martin Fortier and Elliot Coleman and things are all very inspired by some of the bio-intensive John Jevons and people
like
that I was looking into.
You just said, can you say that one more time?
Say that again, sorry?
Can you say that one more time, what you had just said about intensity?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not the method that we've been using for a long time, but I guess the history of the market garden, to six seasons, we've been looking into bio-intensive farming, and I think it was John Jevons.
Got a whole library just over here he's looking at right now. Yeah,
hang on 2 seconds.
That's awesome.
For those who don't know what high intensity farming is, that's using those fast growing crops to produce money in a sense, is what he's speaking about.
Would it be like your and your like cool crops?
You have the crops that are going to have a quick turnaround. So those crops and that's going to take the least amount of time to grow, and as well as the least amount of in a short term money to produce, right?
There's that, but more from a growing method is what I was really talking about, is saying that, like, so we've learned to really grow as much in a bed as possible, whether that's carrots, which are actually quite a long-term crop.
Yes.
Going to past baby carrot size, cultivating or producing a soil that can handle the competition of many rows of carrots, so very deep fertile soil that you can, so growing within our 75 centimeter beds, or 75 centimeter wide beds, we're growing sort of between 5 and 7 rows of carrots, which is quite a lot for that. I think is that 30 inches or so. I think the metric.
If you're doing a standard market garden, it's 30 inches by.
Yeah. That's it. So we're doing sort of 7 rows of carrots, and so it's very close. And they, you know, they form a canopy of the foliage forms a canopy, and that of course keeps the moisture in the ground and stops the weeds from growing. And just doing, you know, learning little techniques like that really is what I'm saying is probably helped us, allowed us to be able to grow such a large volume. But then also, yeah, quick, you know, as soon as one crop's come out, we've prepared the bed and to get ready to put in another crop. Yeah. And it's why we haven't really focused on big bulky crops like potatoes, or why we found it hard to maybe do green manure in the beds, because each bed is so valuable to us that we've had to kind of make it pay as it were.
And then you have a short, with a short season, you're also trying to cram quite a lot into a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And there's only so late you can then sow the next thing.
So we do a 22-week deliveries.
Yeah.
Season 22 weeks of boxes.
22. Sometimes we've not made the 22 weeks just because the season's been tough, you know, and things have been a bit late, or it's just gotten very wintry a bit earlier. But yeah, we aim for 22.
But deciding how to grow, how much of one crop to grow is a good question and a difficult one again.
The answer is there isn't really like a really clear answer. You know, our kind of approach is to take as many records as possible. You know, you go with what you start small. So if you're starting with less members, so that you can really use that as an opportunity to gather data. So you start with less members, so that you're not trying, you know, how you were saying, obviously we're growing on a quite a small size of land for a lot of people, but we wouldn't have aimed to do that in the first year, because of course, if you make a mistake with not much land to spare, then you're not going to have enough food for all those people. So that came from essentially having the data there and knowing probably what we're going to be able to get from each bed, and also having a kind of certain things that we often do every year, certain successional times, like we know that it takes about a month from sowing to harvesting of a salad, or, you know, things like that. So you just learn that for your area. And that does vary obviously through the season, but you can get kind of average data on that. And so gathering that was the first the first like 2-3 years is really like gathering as much data as possible. And some of the best stuff is just how much you're harvesting in terms of weight or number of units, and from what area of the bed. And also, I guess, working with your own knowledge in terms of how long a crop can be available in your area. So, you know, for us, we know that we can kind of, for example, beetroot, they would be something that are quite a quick crop. And they really can grow through the whole season. Whereas then there's certain things that, you know, are just, going to be in the ground for a lot longer, or they're not going to be able to withstand certain temperatures, either heat or cold. And so, you know, when I was doing kind of planning, I looked at all the crops that we could grow, that we thought we could grow, that we maybe hoped to grow. We would like throw in something every year that like, was a bit risky, but we'll try that. But mainly the crops, you know, you can grow. And then basically I kind of marked out like the months of the year that I thought that could be available, you know, based on not thinking about the area of land or anything, just how it could be available. And then you look at what per week of the veg box you could possibly have, and then it started to plan from there. So for example, there's obviously in the middle of summer, there's a lot of things that will be available, but then you're working with a smaller kind of pool of options at the start and the end of the season. And so from there, you've got your realms of possibility for each week, and then you kind of work from there to say, okay, well, we'll aim to have this selection, you know, as James mentioned, at least 5, but we kind of would aim for 8 varieties per veg box. And so you always aim above it, because something's going to go wrong always, and you know, you're going to lose a crop, or just something isn't ready in time, and so you always allow for error. And then so you're basically, and then once you've got an idea of what you want to have available, when you kind of plot back and you go, okay, well, that means I need to sow that then. You know, if it's say something, what's easier almost is when you've got things like cabbages, because you just sow enough for how many members you have, plus a margin of error, right? So
Yeah.
because some of them just won't be ready, or you lose some.
How many cabbages do you think your customers are going to want to have in
Yeah,
the veg box over your
wants,
season? They don't want one every week.
No, we love cabbage, but yeah, often like.
I want to make sure I'm understanding this right. So you guys, your data, you got to pretty much dial down to a bed. So let's say, for instance, we're growing a bed of kale. The prior year, you documented that information, saying, okay, I grew one bed of kale, and this bed produced this amount of money for me, or this amount of product for me, and this is what we lost, and you retain that information for the following year. That way you can compensate for, just in case you have that same spoilage or that loss, and then that's how you determine.
Kind of like it would be more of a process. So what I kind of described just then was really what was done like at the very beginning of like as an idea of how you come up with what veg you're going to sow, in terms of trying to make sure you've got a nice variety of things through the year. But after that initial time of doing that, we didn't really do that again. It was more constantly keeping records of how many, for example, with kale, how many kale plants fit in a bed. And that was, I think that's, let me get this right, it's close to 100, I think.
Yeah, so it depends on your spacing that you're choosing, whether you're using landscape fabric as a mulch, or whether you're hoeing between your plants. So there's a few variables with that one.
So if you've got kind of designated spacing or not, but you've got how many plants you need, and then you sow obviously a bit extra than that, and then you've got those plants, and then you basically record the weights, and you're doing this anyway because when you bring your harvest in, you're recording those weights to kind of have for like the data for your, how much your members got, and you record those total weights, and then it means that in the following years you can say, I mean, you'll have noticed this as well, obviously, while you're doing it, but you'll go, we didn't have enough, or we had too much, or whatever, and then you kind of
So it's like suck it and see, basically.
It is
like,
a little bit.
It's as simple as that, almost. The first season.
Yeah.
I mean, the
first season is totally just
first
you just
couple
gotta
of
hope.
seasons. We definitely grew too much. We've dialed it down. We've really like tightened up our plantings and reduced our varieties. From doing like 4 types of kale, we've gone down to 2 varieties of kale.
You also go like, what's the best one? You've been like, that's really tasty and you do really well.
There's a lot of trial and error, and you will eventually just know what a 50 foot by 30 inch bed can produce. And with carrots, for us, if we'd done maybe 5 rows, we could almost get 4 weeks of carrots.
Wow.
Portions, out of one bed, really. You don't want to give away too much. You also got to look at your whole garden and go, right, okay, what's good backup veg for those leaner months as the weather changes, and you're harvesting with frozen fingers, and you're thinking what's left in the garden, because you don't want to peter out to nothing really. So you do have to kind of have reserves and go, well, they're growing fine, they're good in the ground, let's not max them out completely to begin with, or we'll reserve that a little bit.
Because we often say obviously it's like a share of the harvest, but of course it isn't a share of everything that's available right now in the garden. It's like you'd have 15 or 20 varieties sometimes in the box, and that's just too much.
Makes sense.
So you guys are an absolute wealth of knowledge with this, and I know that you're doing so many things on your farm, and it takes, I think it's probably, it has a lot to do with trial and error, right? On just a lot of it just figuring out. But like when you guys, because it's dialed in now, from a harvesting standpoint, like how did you know, like we're just trying to figure out, okay, when do we harvest? What do we harvest? And with us, we're going to have a refrigerator for our crops so they don't perish at all. But it's like, how do we know how much to harvest? Is that kind of what we're like?
Yeah, I guess because we have a kind of a situation where you guys, we don't have a walk-in cooler or any kind of refrigerator system. So when it's time to put it, do your boxes, when do you determine to harvest that so that your clients are getting
like on time,
the peak freshness of the versus? Because there's a balance, especially like tomatoes. You don't want the tomatoes to over ripen, so you gotta pick those at a certain time.
We struggle just getting the tomatoes to ripen, because that's a difficult one in our climate. but no, we can totally see the benefit of a walk-in cooler. Have one. We have our packing shed is very cold. Just through the design of the building, stone walls and relatively north facing.
Plus, we don't tend to get super hot weather.
No. Ever. We had a 17-degree Celsius day yesterday, which again I can't convert for you, but that was hot. It was very abnormal for March, for late March. It was like a summer's day. So we don't have a cooler. We've used fridges before when we've had hot days and we've bagged up some salad a bit too early and we think, right, we've got to get this in. But on the whole, unfortunately, it means that we've got to. Well, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for our customers, they're getting really, really, really fresh vegetables because. So say if we were delivering on a Friday, on Thursday we pick things like courgette, zucchini, and
anything non-leafy.
Basically. We leave the leafy greens till the morning, just hours before delivery. So we'll do it that way. So it does kind of unfortunately, if without that refrigeration, it forces your hand to just go, this is what is available and we have to pick it now. Whereas I suppose if you were midweek or at the start of the week and you saw something in its prime or just about to hit its prime, you could pick it and cool it down and store it. We've done that with like
broccoli and cauliflower before, because sometimes you're just like, oh, that looks so good right now, like it's gonna burst.
They're the hardest. The flowering tops are always the thing
tough crops, full stop,
to miss
like they are,
and to go over, because it's all nice tight heads of broccoli, and then your harvest day comes up and they've burst open, and we'll still pick them again. Maybe running as a regular veg box, we were more inclined to be a bit like, I'm not sure we can sell that product. But with the CSA, we are, and that doesn't mean our quality control has gone down necessarily, but we have the assurance from our members that they're willing to take the wonky veg and the stuff that's maybe not as normal looking as it is in Tesco or whatever.
Or also, I write this little thing that goes with the veg boxes that can sometimes explain something that's not that obvious in the veg box. So it will say, it'd be like a contents sheet. I used to print them out, and now we send them via email because our printer keeps breaking as well. But essentially, that can help you sometimes, because there might be a reason why something's in a certain form, and so you can kind of say why, or why it's, for example, the tomatoes. There are some green tomatoes in there because it's the end of the season, and we wanted to give you some green tomatoes rather than no tomatoes. So try making chutney or like whatever. So you can, the more communication. And again, that's a nice thing about the CSA. I mean, I guess you could do that with another veg box, but it comes out more naturally with the CSA because you've got that closer relationship.
What was that?
I said it's the openness, the open line of communication that you have with the client. That's
transparency is really important to us with that. The garden, the farm was open to all our members to come and visit whenever they wanted to. We hosted a get together, but that like
the saddest part.
It was really sad. We Rosa baked cakes and we said, "Come along, visit us," and nobody. Well, one person came, I think.
That's awesome.
But that's definitely where was it our first season? I was very lucky to have an intern at the time who was from the Netherlands, and she was studying international food and agribusiness, and she came here for like a 5-month internship, and she helped me with my business plan and things like that. And one of the things we did was a survey to our local community, and we asked lots of questions, and I forgot to mention this before, but in that first year I was already starting to edge towards this concept of turning into a CSA.
Okay.
So they were slightly leading questions, I suppose, like, if you were interested in coming along to a local farm and participating in weeding for an hour, would that be something that's interesting to you? And, if you were buying this vegetable in Tesco, which is our main supermarket in the UK, how much were you willing to pay for that? And if it was organically grown, how much were you willing to pay? Are you interested in events that bring people together? And that feedback was really valuable, really, to get to know your local community and go, okay, we can charge this amount. People are willing to pay $1 more or whatever, or that's really, really good to know. And what we learned was actually people weren't that bothered in the nature connection side of things, because we're a farming community. Like all the kids that are in the primary school, their parents are all farmers, and they grow up in the fields, and so they're not really needing to come to the farm and pull weeds and connect in that way. But then they did give a kind of indication of some social events, because we're a fractured community. It's very hard to get together and do anything.
Like no
pubs.
So that was a bit of a tangent on that one, but that was very useful for us in the early year.
Now, you guys, I will say, you guys, like Jimmy said, you guys are a wealth of information. We want to give the chat a chance to ask some questions. But before we get into the chat, I do want to employ you guys to do a video on that last information that you guys gave about the survey, and then as well as how you guys the mathematical breaking it down in depth.
I think that's very valuable.
In depth on the product, how much veggies you guys are putting in, and the what and the why behind what you guys do. I mean, I have watched all your videos, so I employ
probably twice.
Everybody to go back and watch the video, especially the one on the weight that you broke down, Rosa. So
yeah, because she was on the whiteboard. You guys are weighing yourself. Like, but we can go. I'm sorry, we can go on forever.
We can go on forever, but I'm gonna employ everybody to go to your channel and go out there and watch those videos, because you guys have some useful information.
Yeah.
But if you could just do an in-depth video, even if it's just for me.
We're gonna open this up for you guys, because we don't want to miss out, because folks are here, they're asking questions. We want to make sure that we get them for you. So we had someone that says, there's a question for Tap. Do you use mulch on rows, plastic or paper, or just weed?
All of that over the years.
Yeah,
I think that's
changed.
It's changed, and I think that's what we've enjoyed so much, is that we've been learning on the go. I think when I did my permaculture design course in Australia 20 odd years ago, and learning in the subtropics, we're learning about how to retain moisture into the soil using sheet mulching, kind of lasagna gardening with big layers of straw and cardboard. Doing that in the UK, where we have this very wet climate, that just doesn't work, because we get too many slugs and things. So
to caveat that, then, so what has been the most successful method then that you have seen over the years?
Well, I mean, landscape fabric using plastic is, of course, very successful. It is very useful stuff. We had a template, and we would burn holes at our spacing, so it was very quick just to pin that down and plant into it.
You reuse it as well.
Yeah,
so
we've used the same sheets of landscape fabric, because it's not the thin plastic stuff; it's the woven membrane, like
poly, whatever it's called. Poly.
Yeah, I can't remember, but so it's reusable, but it just we would look around some days and just see all this plastic growing on the farm, whether that's the silage or the tarps that we use for putting the beds to sleep in winter, or getting rid of weeds. And so now we really have, from kind of a no-dig approach that I learned from Australia, which wasn't acceptable because of the medium I was using, it was too much of a slug habitat, to going into plastic, and then looking into thick layers of compost, sort of Charles Dowding style method. That's where we're at now. We really reduced our plastic to basically using the silage sheets, the big plastic tarps, to cover our beds if we really need to get the weeds gone or kill off grass or whatever. We still employ that, but and then weeding, yes, I mean, we still weed by hand, but far less now. Now we're doing the no dig, where we've put a good
weed-free
sort of
mulch,
6 to 8 inches of weed-free mulch. Yeah, that's the big important thing.
We've done, because we've used our own compost for that before, and that's resulted in just an insane amount of it kind of starts off as like, oh, that's a nice bit of clover, or oh, that's nice, that'll be nice, those marigolds that have just popped up, and then done, it's gone, everything is in the bed jungle.
Still hand weeding and making sure that we do set our vegetables at the spacing for using like an oscillating hoe or a stirrup hoe or something.
We still do that.
So long answer, but pretty much we've tried all the methods, and currently we're really enjoying no dig for the fact that you hardly have to weed, you hardly have to water, and no plastic.
Only difficulty with that method being sourcing so much So our experiments now, we won't go into it, are like with this bokashi, because that's a way of kind of creating a large amount of organic material that's potentially weed seed free. So that's, watch this space though, because we have to test that out this year. But otherwise it's been quite hard to source that material.
I'm watching that closely because I'm going to be implementing that this year on the.
Oh we've got our fingers crossed.
So you guys, she said Bokashi, so make sure you look up TAP, because they've got a great video on that and what that means, what they're doing. So double check that. We've got some more questions here.
Go ahead.
So question is, and I think you may have touched on this. So are you selling CSA members by the pound, or weighing, or do they purchase by the box?
Yeah, well, we kind of sell, we sell like a share size, which is based on the size of the box that the veg arrive in. And that is obviously a price. So there's like a small share.
Standard.
Yeah.
Like,
we say
10,
standard.
10 pounds, 10 sterling.
Per week.
A large and an extra large.
Yeah. It's quite, it is quite difficult to determine because obviously we've used the veg box as James kind of alluded to, like the veg box being the thing that most people recognize as well, and it's a good vessel obviously for your vegetables, but it's quite limiting because it's obviously a certain size and that varies through the year anyway, but
it's quantity, it's not the weight of the box, it's the size of the box and the amount of vegetables in there. So obviously if you bought the standard, you're going to get, the extra large is going to get a lot more radishes than
they get 1.5. So extra large is 2 standards and a large is 1.5 standards. So that when we bring in our veg, we dole it out like that. So we kind of come up with what the we divide by a certain number that we've worked out based on all of the larges being 1.5 in size, standards being a 1, and an extra large being a 2. And so you add all those together in terms of who's chosen what size, divide by that total, and then you basically multiply by 1, 1.5 or 2, and that gives you the amount for each one. And so that's how we end up with those amounts. It
sounds confusing, but again, we've had to totally learn, like the CSA concept is very young in the UK. There's not many CSAs. It's growing, but when we started up here in Scotland, we were potentially the first one that was not the first one in history at all, but the first one that's been registered through a network of a charity that maps CSA. So it's a very new concept. So again, we've kind of had to watch YouTube videos and
just come up with it. But I think
to us, America and Australia seem to. I thought CSA was a really common thing. Like everyone knows what a CSA farm is. But in the UK, it was very unknown. So there is no kind of like guidelines at all on weights and measures and stuff like that. It's deciding what's fair, what you think is a good volume to feed people. I think is just to go on
and just stick with it, consistency.
And so if I can simplify what they say,
but they have a great video on it too.
Yeah, they do. But if, say for instance, you have snow peas, what they do is they divide by the number, and then say for instance, someone has a larger box, they get 3 times as much than the person who has a smaller box.
Yeah, depending on what you decide the large is.
Great.
Large and stuff. So but we it's really working with just like an amount that we've kind of deemed as what looks about right for say 2 people, 2 kind of vegetable
and then gone off of the
feedback.
Luckily we've never had anyone saying we're not giving them enough.
Mostly it's too much.
Probably not a bad problem.
We eat a lot of meat in Scotland as well. So
the food culture is really important as well. Because you might have people that just not used to eating much vegetables. So
if it's not deep fried in batter, then I don't know.
Hey,
that's not like America.
We have another one. It says, "Dear Tap, so much of what you do follows a permaculture philosophy. In what way is that mentality most valuable for managing a CSA scheme box, compost building, supporting cast animals, etc.?"
I think that's a really cool question. And also, I would say,
hold on, they're going to be back.
So it looks like we may have got a little broke up there. But
so tell about what TAP's doing with their permaculture. So if you guys haven't looked at TAP's videos, They actually do quite a bit with permaculture. We actually want to do the same. So everything on their property has a purpose.
Yes. So they have a food forest. They have many eco environment systems that they have created throughout. That way that the farm itself can be sustainable. One thing I do like about what they're doing, however, is they make sure that everything has a use, like Jamie said. For instance, they have goats. So they grow poplar trees, which the goats love to forage on. And what they do is they'll cut those trees back during the summer months, and then they take that and they dry it over the fall, and they use what's called tree hay, and they feed their on their back.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, sorry, folks.
That's okay. Ryan was really trying to fill in the void for you guys to tell him a little bit.
But I didn't put as well.
I totally didn't. So you're gonna have to go back and rewatch and be like, nope, that wasn't right, Ryan.
Good, yeah.
No, but go ahead. Go ahead.
All I was saying was just basically that, that's a great question. And I think a big part of it for us is always thinking about how we can source something from on the farm, both for that, the kind of environmental side of that, but also it's actually very good business to do that, because you are less reliant on things coming from further afield. Sourcing things from further afield that therefore could be affected by, as we all know now, larger scale problems about whether something's available from certain parts of the world.
We may have lost them again.
Yeah, we may have lost. So to answer your question about do they check their chlorine, they actually have a natural water source on their farm.
Yeah.
So what they have is a major pond that feeds smaller ponds, and then they what they do is they use their pond water, their natural spring or pond water, to actually water their gardens.
Yep. So that's like I said, you guys, on their property, they are very effective and efficient and intentional about what they're doing. It's really inspiring to see what TAP actually does on their property, because everything has a purpose.
Yes.
Absolutely everything. And like, that's why, talking or looking at some of the videos that TAP does is it's very educational.
Yeah.
Sorry. What's going on? Yeah, we're not sure.
It's okay. I know. You guys, I mean, we've had a fantastic discussion, and honestly, you guys, just the wealth of knowledge that you bring. The last question was about chlorine in your water, and Ryan was telling them about.
That was great. We heard that. Yeah, we've got private water supply, so we're not using town water. It's from a spring. We have to get that checked every year by the council because of doing tours and things anyway.
For the public.
But we also don't wash our veg. We're allowed to spray off the mud off of carrots and things, like you saw the root washing station.
Yeah.
So we had to go through some council checks that we're not like submerging our lettuce and things for washing it because of things like salmonella, etc. So that's the issue with water that we had to kind of think about. So we have to
wash it.
We have to purposely tell our members that they must wash the vegetables on arrival of the box.
Okay.
Okay, so we have another question for you guys is their passion for the CSA more centered around growing good food for others, or around educating others about the value of responsibility grown food?
It's a good question. I would say it's a blend of the two. It started certainly, the early years of the farm was about demonstration of permaculture design in cold climate and educating people about different methods of production. And then as you become a producer, you can't help but want to produce a good product and get grow your green thumbs or your green fingers or whatever and do something good like that. So it's definitely both.
Yeah, I think the content that you guys have, like I've kind of Facebook stalked you, and just to see like what you're doing in your veg box and like what kind of advertisement you're doing, and I really think like a lot of it too is that you're educating your folks on your members on what they can do, because you provide good resources for them how to use the foods that you're putting in their box. So I think we've actually got a lot of great ideas from you guys for that reason. So thank you for We have another one that says, what all do they provide for a customer? So I know that varies on your guys' season sometimes, but can you give a general idea of what you would find in your typical CSA box midsummer?
Midsummer, it would have definitely kind of courgette, salad, various herbs. It would have tomatoes. It would have mange tout. Yeah. It would have
broccoli.
Yeah.
Cabbage,
or
cauliflower,
yeah,
radish.
Gosh, I'm trying to think through the garden.
Coriander.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Yeah, it's often
cucumbers, aubergine. There's definitely more.
French beans, climbing beans.
Yeah. Carrots.
Yeah, carrots, young carrots. Yeah.
Definitely lots of beans.
Yeah.
Some other stuff.
And then towards the end of the season, because we've integrated soft fruit and top fruit, we've been putting like black currants, little punnets of berries into the box, and some apples, not many yet because they're still quite young. But that was the whole
right.
Future chokeberry.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know how they'll go down.
We have to write a description with that one.
Yeah.
Explain it. Yeah.
So do you guys don't grow for restaurants? Do you?
Well, they technically, you guys might be doing something a little bit different, I think.
Well, they haven't gotten too far. I want to talk about the current CSA model.
Yeah, well, in the past we haven't. We've had a few interactions.
Yeah, we did have like a kind of relationship start with the restaurant. But that chef ended up leaving, so we didn't end up carrying that on, unfortunately. But that was nice for the bit that it lasted.
I think we would have been interested in it, but again, we don't have. We're an hour from a city. Our towns don't really do places that you can like eat well. To be honest, like the cafes and things locally aren't that great.
They're going to take maybe like 2 lettuce a week. It's so different because that's how I started in London. It was like all selling to restaurants. So, and that's because you can just sell tons of salads and things like that to restaurants. But here it's not. It's just not going to be the quantities of veg that actually we need to produce to make that money. So for us, that doesn't happen so much.
I think it would have been more simplistic to produce for restaurants because we would have to grow far less varieties because the thing with the veg box is that people expect variety and maybe we could have dialed it down to just our like top 5 to 10 vegetables and produce that way. But
so you have to specialize. You have to what they
but there's just not enough eateries and places around us that would be a good relationships to start that with.
Makes sense.
I know we're getting close to time here, so I think there's a couple more questions, but I also want to give TAP an opportunity to kind of just platform where they're at and what they're doing and that anything that they want to.
And before they don't.
But happy to answer more questions.
We're happy with the questions.
Okay. All right. So Lisa over at Yogi Hollow Farm, which is one of our moderators. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate what you're doing out there for us. Says, do they also sell besides CSA as in local farmers markets? So do you guys, with your market garden, do you have people come to your property to purchase from you? Or do you typically, were you just doing CSA?
Again, we've been pretty tough with people. We sell out of our shares in February when we advertise them. We know we've got up to 50 shares we could do. Once they've sold out, and we just keep it simple like that. It does make you feel a bit sort of stingy when someone turns up at the farm and they're like, oh, I heard you sell vegetables. Do you have any for sale right now? And we go, well, actually, we work off a box service. It's a CSA. It's all pre-sold.
Yeah, it basically it belongs to our members.
Yeah.
Right?
We can often sell a bit if we've got it, especially to friends who turn up or whatever. But on the whole, it's just more simple to go, this is the way we do our business. You can go and visit this farm or that veg box and just buy something off the cuff. For that, not sign up and become part of a program.
I think if we wanted to do markets alongside the CSA, we would probably say, we would probably just plan for certain over the number of shares and say we take X number of shares to the market every week or whatever. And so we would do it like that rather than trying to like run the garden in 2 different ways. So we would probably just like make the CSA a larger CSA and then
we've often thought about having a shop, or like we had a farm, like a roadside stand, a little self-service honesty box thing, especially for eggs, because we've always we used to put eggs as surplus into the box, as in you'd have to pay extra to have a box of eggs put in your box or into your share. But it's really difficult because we had, we were getting 80 eggs a day from our flock, because we had about 80 chickens. And you've got that, if our boxes don't start going out until the end of June, and we're getting eggs coming out of our ears in March and April, and it just didn't work. So we were having to try and sell them, and we found a few cafes and coffee shops and things to sell eggs to. That's maybe easier for us if we want to sell to different places, is things like eggs, because bakers always need them, and
they keep, like, veg are amazing, but they don't keep. That's like the biggest downside to growing veg.
Well, sometimes we've sold excess veg in a roadside stall, and it would be fantastic to have a shop, or to be part of a co-op, perhaps, where we can get together with other growers and supply a local shop, or Rico Ring, or some sort of pop-up farmers market. Would be quite interesting to us as well, possibly.
One of our other moderators, Black's Tropical Homestead, thank you guys so much for the help today. You seriously,
you guys are amazing.
You guys are amazing. And they actually, so Black's Tropical Homestead, you guys, they actually do they sell a lot of they grow a lot of tropical fruit.
They sell as well.
But I'm like, I was just thinking for them outside the box, they could almost do like a monthly CSA when the fruit starts bearing.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on something like a tropical kind of thing?
Nothing but fruit.
Nothing but fruit, right? But it's possible.
It is possible.
CSA can be applied to
anything.
Yeah. Think of it as a business model, as just how you work your business, and how you interact with your community. Then you can apply it to eggs, meat boxes, chicken.
It's just shareholders. It's basically having shareholders.
But I think the fruit idea is great, and that's kind of what we're thinking about for the future, because we are moving. Funnily enough, we are moving away from doing the veg boxes, certainly for the next season, because we're having a baby, and we're just wanting to put other.
This is breaking news moment. You guys heard it here first. You heard it here first that they're stepping away for a little bit from the CSA. That's breaking news. We about to
step away from the annuals.
Honestly, you guys, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
We absolutely love the fact that that you're sharing everything with us, and the fact that just the knowledge you bring to the community. Because I don't think you guys realize the knowledge that you bring.
Not only that, a lot of people don't share forth the knowledge.
True.
As well. A lot of people, they'll give you a tidbit of the information, and they'll say, go buy my book, or if you want, we have reached out to other people, and they'll say, oh, thank you. Go join my membership. Then we'll tell you. You guys don't do that. You say, hey, we're going to give you that information, but then, but when you have valuable people giving out valuable information, you're giving it for free. I wouldn't mind joining your membership at that point. You know what I mean? With that being said, I just want to give you guys a plug. CAP does have a learning opportunity. They do have a Patreon where they do give a lot of more additional information. Consultations and a whole 9 yard, and you don't have to live in the UK to receive that information. I myself just learned that I am giving a birthday gift from my beautiful wife here of that consultation. So I'm going to be taking advantage of that. And so I do recommend that you guys go jump in, check out what they have, not only on their YouTube page, but their Patreon. They have a lot of Instagram, a lot of different resources out there. We're giving free knowledge. They're just dropping free knowledge. So, and when you get someone that does that, and they give you not just give you snippets, they give you full portions, bite-sized portion where you can get full start a business. Pay it forward. Not only pay it forward, pay it back as well. So definitely check out all the resources they have to offer. I do want to drop that out there. So
thank you.
That's a good plug.
Thank you. Great plug.
Also, you guys. So AJ Lewis, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to AJ Lewis, because he's also our third moderator in this chat, and he's always kind of showing up for us, and so is Yogi and Black's Tropical, really just helping us out today in the chat, and it's been very, very helpful. And this structure of this chat, we really wanted to focus it around TAP because you guys bring a wealth of knowledge. We're interested in what you're doing. We love seeing the growth. We love the fact that you offer volunteers on your property. We love the fact that you're so passionate about what you're doing, and you're looking into new ideas, and you want to share them with the community. And you're willing to share your wins. You're willing to share what doesn't work. And offering those ideas. And then on the other side, you're also putting yourself out there to grow, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So if you guys haven't yet, check TAP out. You guys won't be disappointed. They have so many things to offer you. Even if you don't have a large property, they still have some extremely great information.
Yes.
Everybody that's came and watched the live today, thank you so much for being here. And we were so stoked about this live, you guys. We have taken away so much information. It is not even funny.
Matter of fact, I'm going to watch this live after we get off here.
He's going to watch the live after the live?
Because I got to make sure I get all the information. There's so much. I wanted to write it down, but I didn't want to be rude. So you guys get so much good information.
Yeah, well, we'll be speaking again, won't we? So
definitely.
We definitely, we're going to let you guys, if there's no other questions in the chat here, we're going to wrap this up. But James and Rosa, stick around because we want to touch base with you real quick. But what we like to do is just give everybody a thank you so much.
And let them finish it. Let them finish out real quick and let them see if they have anything.
James and Rosa, do you guys have anything that you want to share?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us, for reaching out, because nobody's ever done that. Nobody's ever really got in touch and said, hey, do you want to do this? And we're very much open to hang out and meet new people. And it's been enjoyable, our first proper live. So you've taught us a lot too, because we'd never really done this before. We're quite nervous waiting in the green room to come out and stuff. So it's been a good way to spend a Thursday evening. But no, just we're just very excited for the next year. It's going to be an extra busy year with a wee baby coming. We've got goat kids coming too at the same time. And we've got our accommodation business that we're setting up at the same time, so that we can have people. Often people come and, because we offer farm tours throughout the year, we often get people saying, can they come and stay and see what it's like to stay on a kind of permaculture small holding or have we gone again?
Oh yeah.
You guys froze a little bit. So we're setting that up.
So you can see.
But no, we're just we're looking forward to growing for the home a lot more. That's what we've been discussing in kind of previous most recent vlogs. Is the first time that Rosa and I will really be growing veg for the home that doesn't just get pushed out in a box and sold, which I know is what tonight's subject has been all about.
Love that. We do love
it. We love it. We're also very interested in the perennial, the permanent agriculture, of the permaculture part for us is looking at, okay, we can grow annual vegetables, but how can we produce something that's going to last for decades and continuously grow and be self-maintaining? And that's really our passion is on that sort of agroforestry side of permaculture, where permaculture has its roots in that kind of side of things. So yeah, very exciting just for us to keep on designing the farm. And we were saying today that it's just never going to get boring here because there's always something to do, but in a good way, of course.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys know that feeling.
Yes.
I think honestly, like that's inspiring to me. Like I know that's what you want to do. Like he's really gung ho about that permaculture and like really but you nailed it. Like I cannot wait to see more information on that very topic from you guys. Like like on the permaculture and like, the what did they call it? Perennial
perennials, tree crops and
like that's so interesting to me. And I know you want to do that, and it's like that's it's unreal to me, like to even think about it, because I'm so new to this, but to constantly be growing. Seriously, that's
and then
awesome.
putting the business aspect to it. So
and putting the business, because you're having farm tours. You're going to have potentially here, maybe future state, the opportunity for
Airbnbs. Yep, whole 9 yards.
I mean, you guys are doing it.
So if you guys are ever in the UK over in Scotland, you might have an opportunity to go stay at the Airbnb. We don't have a coupon code.
Nope.
But we do have add 20% onto the cost because we plugged it here. You add 20% onto the cost. Make sure you keep them going, keep what they're doing going, and giving them the ability to be able to spread this information out there to other like-minded people.
Yes. You guys.
I mean, it's also one last thing I would say is
you're fine.
We definitely don't want to get away from the production side of things. Like we're taking a bit more of a break from working with the local community in that sense, in providing food, but it's always in the back of our mind, and it's a bug that we have now from that third ethic of permaculture, of return of surplus, and seeing what you can work with. We're always kind of looking at, okay, this is going to feed the house first, and then how can we turn that surplus into a little bit of an income?
Yeah.
So to work with our local community is always something that we're going to want to do, but yeah, it's going to be nice to have a bit more focus on the home.
I think that, I mean, just volunteers and stuff come in, you guys. Gosh, I just wish, I wish he would make enough money that he can buy us a jet, and then we could right over.
Fly. If we had a jet, she'd be harassing you guys every day. So
sure
I
would. I sure would. You guys, there's someone had mentioned, it says, I'm creating my food forest, permaculture only 3/4 acre, and it's going great. It's taken me 4 to 5 years to get rid of toxins and improve soil, etc. I mean,
that's awesome.
It's like-minded people really doing after the same goal, and just the ability to share it on a platform like this has been absolutely amazing. So we want, this has been a very great discussion with you guys.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put you guys in the back for just a little bit. We're gonna shut down the shop, and then we're gonna hop back on, just finish up with you guys. All right.
You guys. So James and Rosa, seriously, you're for this first. I don't know if this is proper or not, but we're probably
you're not gonna survey them, are you?
No, I might send you a survey.
Exit
survey. No, but seriously, you guys, you have done a fantastic job. I know people in the chat have gotten a lot from just the information that you've shared in this short period of time. And thank you so much for your time, because it's so valuable. So we appreciate it. I'm just going to put you in the back room here, and then we will get back to you, okay?
Cool.
Thank you. That was really nice.
All right, guys.
Well,
how you gonna take my all right, guys?
I just took it. Thank you, everyone, seriously, for coming today and showing up for Mad Acre Farm Cooperative. He coined that name.
Yes, I did. So nobody use that. Might make a T-shirt out of it. But no, this has been very, very inspirational for me, I will say, and it's one of those bucket list things that I had on my bucket list to have these guys on after finding them. So I want to thank you for getting this all organized. If you guys haven't, make sure you hit that like button. Also, share this video with 1 million friends or two.
Boom.
And as always, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification. We love and appreciate every last one of you guys and everything that you guys are doing to keep the sustainable farming, homesteading movement going. This has been a Mad Acre Live. We're going to get on out of here, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Thanks again to our moderators, AJ Lewis, Black's Tropical, and Yogi Hollow Farm. He's getting me off the stage.
I'm trying to walk off the stage. Come on, Kevin Hart. Hurry up.
Bye, guys.